Hello, hello, everyone. Give a little minute here for everybody to join on, get situated. I'm excited about today's webinar. I feel like a lot of people get a little bit hesitant about using the FUB dialer phone number sometimes because they're so used to having all their business on their personal line. So definitely excited to go through some best practices, some really cool ways to be able to use this phone number for y'all. All right, people are popping in. So we will just get down to it. And this is going to be recorded and we'll send it out probably tomorrow after it processes and uploads. So you guys will get this recording and we'll get it out to everybody. And if people weren't able to join, they'll be able to get it there too. So if you wanted to show it to people on your team, it'll be totally available. All right. So thanks again for joining me, Bridget, and getting FUB'd up today. We're going to talk about the phone numbers and dialer, some best practices, ways to set up your number, the importance of using the Follow Up Boss phone number, and why it can make your business so much more efficient. So I will jump into our demo account here. All right. So first things I want to cover is our phone number itself. So when you go to your settings, if you've got your nice little headshot uploaded, which I totally recommend that you do for a cool feature that I'll show you guys with using the number in down the road here. But if you go into your settings, go to my settings. First thing I want to show you guys, if you scroll down to my number. So right here it says personal number, and that means personal Follow Up Boss phone number. So right up here is where you'd actually put your legitimate phone number. And then this is going to be pertaining to your Follow Up Boss phone number. Thing to note about the dialer, if you're a solo user within Follow Up Boss, you do have a company phone number that you're able to use. If you're part of a larger team or have multiple agents in your account, other people can have access to that company number. But for people to be maintaining consistent contact, you will have to get your own phone number, and there is an additional cost for that. I think it's like $39 extra a month. I'm not entirely sure. They may have changed the price on that, but it is an additional cost, but it's worth it. So here's your phone number right here. You'll be able to save this, be able to put it on business cards, do whatever you want. There is an option to change your number. So right here, especially for if you're living in a certain part of, the States and they give you a weird, funky phone number that has no relation to anywhere about where you live, you are able to come in and be able to search the 4-3 area code numbers to be able to find something that, makes more sense for the area that you're living in. This is also super helpful for if maybe you aren't from the state that you currently are active working in. Maybe you're from Minnesota and you move to Florida, you start this beautiful real estate career, but you have a Minnesota phone number and you're calling people and they're like, why the heck is this person from Minnesota calling me? So this is a really great way for you to be able to have a Florida area code just by simply dialing in what the area code is popular around that area and being able to swap to that. And it does pull up a different list. Let me see. I'm in Atlanta, so it's probably not going to give me. Yeah, it's resorting to other places in the area. But you can see here 706, that's a more popular one. But even it shows you different like cities and counties and areas. So pretty cool to be able to have that feature and really dial in. One thing to know though, if you do change your phone number after you've been actively using it, when people respond to that number, it's still going to route to that number. So you will want to talk to somebody on your admin team to set up some sort of temporary inbox or something while you're transitioning to your new number so that any replies or messages coming to you don't get lost in the loop while you get your new information out to people. Connie's asked about the number being a one-time fee or a monthly fee. That is a monthly fee that's added onto your Follow Up Boss cost. All right, and so then right down here, this is where you can see some of your different call forwarding setup and settings here. So you can have it ring first if you're going to be doing a lot of calls on your computer and really be working in Follow Up Boss at a high level from your desktop. You can have it ring to the desktop first, and then if it goes to the desktop and you don't answer, you could have it forwarded to either your cell phone number, or you could set up a Follow Up Boss voicemail as well. Kind of as the default, and what most people tend to do is have it ring your phone number and desktop simultaneously at the same time. So whichever one, if you're out and about, you'll still be getting it on your phone. Or if you're right here directly on the computer, you kind of have the option of what way you want to communicate. This is where you'd set up that FUB voicemail. So you can come in and record it just right here. And then your outbound, your outgoing call settings. So your outbound number. So this one's, we've got a couple of different inboxes that are used in this this dummy account. But obviously we want that to be your chosen Follow Up Boss number. And then for calling method. So this is when you're on somebody's contact profile and you're going to make a phone call to them. You can choose whether they ask you if you want to call from the desktop or if it routes to your phone. Or you could do one or the other. You can always call using the internet or the desktop, or you can always have it just relay right to your cell phone and call directly from there. Another super cool thing that is one of my favorite newest features of Follow Up Boss is this V card area. So the V card, obviously we see has all of our information right here. You can come in and edit the card details. So you really want to make sure that you're using your Follow Up Boss phone number here. You can add other phone numbers if you want to, but really want to be making sure that this information is our Follow Up Boss phone number because that's how we want to be communicating with people. Your email, a lot of this stuff is automatically generated based off of the information that you have in the system, but a couple things that you can edit, you can add in your company name, and the address is routed from your company address, add URLs, and any sort of notes. So having this profile picture is also going to route directly to your V card. And what's cool about the V card, we'll just go ahead and get right into it, is we'll go to Bridget McFakerton here. So with the V card, when you're sending text through the system, and you can do this on your phone as well, this is going to be primarily, everything kind of related to our desktop, but texting through the system. So you can come in here if you're making reach outs, maybe if it's like an old past client and you want to make sure that they have your brand new Follow Up Boss phone number, your work phone number, you could say, Bridget, it's Bridget. My updated contact information. So type something nice and short and sweet, and then come right down here and attach that V card. And when you do that, let me make sure that this is a real functioning number. So when you go in, you can send that text message out. And what's cool is you see it creates kind of this little link right down here. And with that link, I'll go ahead and pop on this screen now. So you'll see it sends over, creates this, and it auto fills all of your information onto their phone. So you got the pretty headshot. So immediately, if this is somebody that you don't know, they're putting a face to the name already. Okay, this is Lee. This is what he looks like. What a handsome guy. I'd love to work with him. And then you can see it auto populates all of your information. It's a little blurry with this view. And then all they have to do is just go down there and create new contact. And voila, you now have new contact of Lee Adkins in your phone. And anytime that you reach out to them and call them, they will have all of your information. Your name's already saved right in their phone. Nothing to even have to worry about with them not remembering who you are. Gabby asked about a copy of the presentation. Yes, this is being recorded and it will be sent out to everybody who has registered. So even some of you, if you're watching now and you didn't, you will be getting this. It'll be on our YouTube channel. So plenty of ways to be able to access this recording. So yeah, the V card feature, absolutely love it. Totally encourage you guys to be using it at a super high level. Couple of other things. So now that we're in playing around with Bridget, this is what I mean. So we've blurred out the stuff just because when we upload this to YouTube, sometimes it'll take it down if people's information is in here. So that's why this stuff's a little bit blurry. But when you click on it right here, you could see if you have multiple different inboxes, you're able to call directly from them right inside of here. And it's not going to let me, this is also where it would show call from internet or call from your mobile phone, but Follow Up Boss is a little bit too smart for us, and they know that 555-555-5555 is not a real phone number to be able to call from. So we won't have that option right here in this view on this dummy account, but you will have it if you have that setting enabled. So when you're calling directly from here, we're going to call from Lee Adkins. What I really love is that when you're calling, oh, it does ask me the calling method. That's funny. So it did it after the fact. So you would call from the internet. So I want to do it right here on the desktop. And you could see up top here that we are giving Bridget a call. And what I love is that it still keeps the contact profile open. So as you're having the conversation right here from the desktop, you're able to take any notes that you need to about what happens during that conversation. So that the next time that you come in to call Bridget McFagerton, you know exactly the discussion that you had, you know exactly what you need to follow up on. If you promise to send a CMA or anything like that, you can make note of that so that nothing falls through the cracks and that you're having better, more consistent conversations with people all the time. You can manually log a call if you're still, using your personal line, but that's not what this call is about. You can go in after the fact and be able to create notes as well. So if we talk to Bridget, let's say she really wanted to check out 123 Banana Street. It has a fenced in backyard. So we can save that. One of the other key things about keeping solid notes in here is when you're up here in your search section. So right here, just from a blank view, it looks like, okay, we can search people. That's awesome. Little do you know, if you actually search keywords, so we'll just go with, if you're like, oh man, I can't remember who that was, but I know that they mentioned something to me about Banana Street. Who the heck was that? So I'm going to start typing Banana Street. And now you see here, all right, no people with banana in the name. No notes made, but we do see a 1 here for call. So we see here, wanted to check out 123 Banana Street, fenced in backyard, Bridget McFagerton. We click on that, it'll bring you directly back to this page. We were already in it, obviously. So it's pretty cool to be able to utilize that for if you are having certain conversations. Maybe you're doing a whole bunch of dials, just kind of going through one by one, knocking people out, doing your calling for the day. If you remember things about a conversation and you took great notes about it, you can search them and be able to remember who that was about. Connie said, when I send a text, there is a number that the text comes from. Does the dialer use the same phone number? So that is the phone number. So the phone number that you have set up from your settings, these different communications, so all of this information to Bridget McFagerton is coming from that Follow Up Boss phone number. Again, if you don't have the dialer or you don't know if you have the dialer or if you're a solo agent, it could just be from that company number. So it's still coming from a number. It's just from the Follow Up Boss designated company number. Alrighty then. So a couple of cool features with this too. You still have pretty much all of the same capabilities of standard text messages. You can send any sort of media. You can send all the fun emojis you want. And also the utilization of text templates. So if you've got a really great pitch, you can come in here, create a template, and just be able to plug it in and send it out. Another cool thing is you can schedule texts in advance. So you only have 24 hours to schedule a text message in advance, but sometimes that's all you need. If you are wanting to hit any of these hot links that kind of just add in the information for you, so tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, or you can actually go in and pinpoint a specific date and time. Do for tomorrow up to that 24-hour period. So pretty neat feature. This could be super helpful if maybe you're working late one night and you're like, oh man, I know I need to tell this to Bridget McFagerton, but it's 12:30 at night, and you're like, ooh, do I really want to text Bridget at 10:30 at night or 12:30 at night, whatever time it may be. You could just simply come in, go ahead and schedule that to go out in the morning. So when you come here, you'll see this message will be sent tomorrow at 10 a.m. And you do still have the option until then to cancel that message. So another quick fun fact, just if you, there's a lot of different things that are clickable and, hover overable. I think I just made that one up, but that's all right. That kind of tell you a little bit more about how things are working in Follow Up Boss. So never be afraid to click on the question marks if you're like, what's this? It could take you to something cool about how that happens. So you can go, you can cancel it. It'll make sure that you want to cancel it, and then you just hit yes, cancel that message, and you don't have to worry about that going out. Maybe it seemed like a really great idea at 12:30 at night, and then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh man, what the heck was I thinking? Have no fear, cancellation is here. And then the calls. So again, you can route it to call from internet or your mobile phone. This is kind of what I meant, some things that you can hover over. So outgoing calls will be made from your phone instead of the internet for the best possible call quality. So if you're in an area with bad internet or something, this would also be a great use case to be able to just send it directly to your phone. A couple of things about the reporting with phone calls. So sometimes people will be like, oh man, I went in, I know that I made some different phone calls, but who the heck did I call? If you go to reporting and you go to calls, you can dial down, you can do custom dates, everything all the way to all time. And so right now we're looking at everyone. If you're a personal agent, you would just be able to see yourself. But for now, if you're an admin level or anything like that, you can come in and you can see the different kinds of phone calls that people have been making. If it's a unique person, you can press that and it'll show you all of the different people that you'd called. Go back to our reporting and our calls. So really great way to say, oh man, I know that I made a bunch of calls today. If you're trying to hold yourself accountable, how many calls did I make today? Maybe your goal is to do 50 for the day. You can come in making sure that you are, living up to the standards that you've set for yourself. And for team leaders, owners, operations managers, things like that, it's a really great way to come in and kind of monitor, like, all right, April's complaining that she's not getting a lot of conversion. There's not a lot going on there. But she's not really making any phone calls when Bridget's out here freaking killing it, and she has significantly more phone calls. Kinds of things that you can kind of also bring to your one-on-ones and having these different meetings and conversations with people like, hey, Bridget's out here killing it. She's making tons of phone calls. She's getting a lot more appointments. If you just kind of stepped up your game, maybe set some goals together, you'll probably see that you'll be finding yourself with more appointments, more conversion, and more money in your pocket as well. A good, easy way to be making efficient calls is with our smart lists up here. So the smart lists, hope that you guys are all utilizing smart lists to their fullest potential, because they should be your best friend when coming into Follow Up Boss. We like to work a system called Smart List Zero. So when you're going through your lists, you want to zero them out for the day, because they should be all pretty much based off of communication standards. So like your HOTS, if they're in the A 1 to 3 months, last communication more than 3 days ago. That means, all right, we haven't talked to Michael Scarn here in 3 days. We want to pick up the phone, give him a call, see if anything's changed. Is he ready to go see some houses? Did something happen? Does he need a little bit more time? Do we need to move him more to like a B, 3 to 6 months? Maintaining these relationships and building the relationships. You know, a lot of people are going to have action plan, drip campaigns, stuff like that going on the background for them. And that's all great. Gotta love an action plan, gotta love, you know, part of the work being done for you. But, you know, at the end of the day, an action plan is not going to sell a house. You guys, as the professionals, as the knowledgeable agent, is going to be the one to do that. So if you're making these relationships and you're staying consistent and following up, you know, if Michael Scarn made it into your database, he's probably made it into multiple other databases as well. So whatever agent's actually building a relationship with him, who's actually calling him, seeing what's going on, how things are, referencing previous conversations that you've had, because you're going to see him right here in his profile. You know, when the time comes for him to actually buy or sell, he's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call Bridget. I'm ready to list my house. She's been keeping up with me. And now you've got yourself a brand new client. But what's cool is when you're in these, you can create that calling list. So that's why we want to make sure that we're using these different capabilities that Follow Up Boss has, because it just kind of helps do the work for you. So I'll go back to this all people, just because I know that my name's at the top and that it's a real phone number. These are all fake numbers, but don't want any mistakes happening. Don't need to be calling anybody that we don't know. So when you're on those lists, you can either select all people, you can individually pick and choose people that you'd like to call, anything like that. And when you come up here, you've got a couple of different mass action options, and a calling list is one of them. So if you click on that, if you're already working in a list, you can just, it'll just place these people in the list that you were in at the end of it, or you could just start fresh, create a brand new list. So now you can see what's happened is it's just already hang up that call. Started calling Bridget. It brought her profile right up. So right away while the phone's ringing, we can do just a quick little brief. Okay, here's what do I need to know real quick before I get on the phone with Bridget. All right, here's some notes. All right, we talked about how she wanted to see 123 Banana Street a couple times ago. If there's any text threads, background information, whatever you need to know. If there's activity, if you have your IDX hooked up, you could see what different properties she's been looking at. Just really set yourself up for having an awesome conversation, right? So once you're done, complete the call, make any call notes about it. It's not going to go directly to the next person until you tell it to. So you don't have to worry about being like, oh my gosh, what if I'm in the middle of this and I have to get up and go to the bathroom? Nothing's going to start until you tell it to. So after that, you would just hit next. And it's going to automatically bring up Steve. We can get any information that we need and you know, see what we need to do, see some previous conversations. All right, we talked about FUBCon and it was life-changing. Let's talk about FUBCon again. Hey, FUBCon's in Vegas this year. Are you planning on going again? I really hope I see you there. So really setting yourself up, guys. This is what I mean. One thing I do want to touch on too is people's hesitance to be using a phone number that's not their own phone number. Oh man, but you know, I've been in the business, I've been doing this 20 years. Everybody's had my phone number. This is how they know how to get a hold of me. That's fine. But now they'll know how to get a hold of you in a brand new way. It's really nice to be able to have that work-life balance, right? So, you know, keep your personal phone number for your personal friends and family, and then have your work line for anything business related, being able to have that balance. It's really easy to transfer calls if you're out of town or something like that too. Talk to another agent on my team. I'm sitting at the beach drinking a Corona right now. Also, if it is somebody who you've worked with in the past, it's a really, really great conversation starter. It's funny, we've had a lot of teams that we've worked with who are super hesitant. They're like, oh, man, I don't know about using a new number. Like that's a different change of pace for me. And then they get in and they do it and they're like, holy moly, why did I not do this sooner? And I'm like, I know, it's great to have that balance, but it's a really great lead up to, you know, if Steve's a past client, hey Steve, you know, it's Bridget, haven't talked to you in a while, just wanted to make sure that you have my phone number and all of my information. And now you're starting a conversation, just a cold conversation with Steve, somebody who maybe you even haven't talked to in a year plus, just by giving him your information. And he's like, oh, cool, Bridget, this is great to hear from you. And we've actually seen this turn into becoming an active client again. Oh, my wife and I, we were just talking last week about how we wanted to put our listing up. So now you've called them, they've got your number, and you've got a new lead. All right, make sure I'm staying on track here. So, yep, our call lists, the reporting. Oh, inbox. That's the kind of the last thing that I really want to touch on. And then I'm always happy to take any questions from you lovely folks as well. But your inbox. So we've got these great lists. We're going through, we've got our calling list, bada boom, bada bing. We're reaching out. They drop off of the list. All right, then what happens? What happens when Bridget McFakerton responds back to me? How the heck am I supposed to know that without just being notified? What if I'm not at my computer? What if I'm busy and I don't see the notification? If you guys come to your inbox, you actually have the capabilities of doing different filtering systems. So if you're like, all right, I don't need to see my emails junking this up because I have my Gmail browser open as a tab anyway. So you can actually take those off and you can streamline just for those incoming text messages and incoming texts and phone calls. So like you'll see here, I just did a little reply. Boom, Bridget McFakerton right here in the inbox for us. So you could just come in and be able, it shows you your text thread right here, kind of like if you were on the phone. I love this feature too. You can see a bunch of different quick items. You can update things if you're like, oh man, she's not supposed to be there. We're actually out showing 123 Banana Street. You can change things directly here. See activity. So pretty neat. What's also even cooler is if it is from a phone number that you don't have, if you have your phone number on your business card and it gets handed off to somebody else, or if you've got it on a billboard, if you're a bigwig or something like that, and you're getting incoming calls, so they're coming through just as phone numbers. Again, I know this is blurred out, but that's just a phone number, not a name. It'll tell you if they leave a voicemail, hey, this is yada yada, or if they shoot you a text message, hey, this is Lee. I saw your billboard. I wanted to reach out about listing my home for sale. What can you tell me? You can come and you can add them right over here directly into the system. Add the person. And now you've just created them as a new contact in your database. Again, updating those stages, making sure everything's looking good. Add the email, all of that good, fun stuff. What's cool too is in some of these different inboxes, this is where you could have like, if you do have billboard calls or something like that, and you're like, you know what? We want the whole team to have access to it. Whoever gets it, gets it. Just as long as the phone's ringing and people are answering it. You can have multiple people in an inbox like that. So we'll go to this one, for instance. And if you can come in, you can kind of see the different kinds of communications that have happened. You can come down here and you can assign these out to specific agents. So if you're like, all right, I know I want Bridget to handle this lead, you'd be able to direct that to her. And now she's got a new thing in her inbox for her to be able to go and reach out to that person that you just handed off to her. You can also create different notes in here. So if you wanted to mention someone, and that doesn't get shown to the person who called you. So a little point about Follow Up Boss and the different messaging features in here. So if anything has like a colored background, like this is this orangey, light yellow color, it means that the contact isn't going to be able to see that information. Whereas if it's just a white background, that means that it's open, anybody can see that. So just be mindful on making sure that you're creating a note if it's something that you don't want somebody to see. Connie said, under the inbox tag in the company section, I have many, many calls that do not have a matching client. How do those numbers get to the company section? So they got to the company section because somebody called that company phone number. So I mean, it could be something like a solicitation or spam, kind of like you can see here. I mean, Spectrum here, we're excited about our services. This is clearly a solicitation or spam. These are live active phone numbers. You guys get spam on your personal phone numbers. Unfortunately, Follow Up Boss, not fake phone numbers, but not a carrier phone number does also get spam at times as well. I mean, other than that, maybe you have that phone number somewhere and somebody saw it and know that you're interested in real estate, so you could text them back or call them back and see who they are, and then be able to go in and fill out that information and maybe have yourself a potential new lead. All right. So those are really like the main things that I wanted to talk about. As you can see, it still leaves the calling list open here until you tell it not to, so you end the session. But yeah, again, huge advocate for people using these different Follow Up Boss phone numbers. They really are a game changer. If you're not using it, totally encourage you guys to get involved. If you're getting spam, and I'll make sure that in the email that goes out to everybody, if you're getting flagged as spam, there are a couple of different ways that you I'll get to Aaron's question in just 1 second here after I get on my little tangent on this. You want to maybe go through and check for, if you are using those text templates, go to the text templates under admin, and we'll just say all right now, and you can see your score. So if you're having like really negative scores on certain things that you're sending out to people, that's going to affect your deliverability and you being flagged as spam. So it's something that you A, don't want to send anymore, and B, want to change the wording on. Little word of the wise here. One of the most efficient ways to set up the text message is going to be kind of in this format. Hey, contact first name, call the person by name. It's Lee Adkins, whoever you are, with ABC Realty, whatever company you work for, and then a little following message that kind of asks them a question. But as long as you're letting them know, hey, I know who you are, this is who I am, this is who I work for, here's why I am messaging you, it's a lot more beneficial, because the carriers these days are really looking for that kind of information when they're filtering through on messaging going into people's phones. So if you've covered your bases in this way, it really helps you. Another really efficient thing is if you send a text like this to a colder lead or something like that, if you send that text first before you call them, you guys may have noticed this. I'm an Apple user, iPhone user, as you saw when I just did that other little demonstration. But what it does is, if you send that text first and then you go to call them after that, you've probably noticed sometimes it'll say maybe with somebody's name. So because you've already texted them from that number, including your name in it, when you go to call after with a message like that, it would say maybe Lee Adkins. So right then and there, they're like, oh, okay, this isn't spam. This is actually a real person who's calling me. Let me take a peep at Aaron's question. Any way to change your caller ID to say you are from a certain company? Our caller ID says we are calling from Virginia, a town on the border of VA and NC. So the only way to say that you're from a certain company or a certain, like, I think maybe you mean like a certain city or something. So maybe you weren't on before that, but there's no way to change that without changing your phone number. Unfortunately, that's a carrier setting. That's where the number is being detected from. But when right here with the change number, when you're trying to go for a certain area code, it'll show you right here where it says that you will be calling from. So if that's like a super big pain point or issue for you guys, you may want to change your number unless you're active in using it. If it's not that big of a deal, then I probably would recommend just kind of keeping it as it is. and maybe you were originally from that town, and that's okay. All right, guys, I'll take any more questions that you guys have. If you are not using this again, I definitely encourage you guys to. One of the best ways to kind of play around with it, come in here, put yourself in here as a contact, text yourself, call yourself, see how it shows up, use the templates, check out that V card option. Put your spouse in here, put your best friend in here. Just really play around with it and see all of the different ways of the communication, how your number's going through, all that stuff. And I'll send that link too about the spam, because there is a way that you can go and kind of register your name and get unflagged for spam with your phone number. It doesn't take it off forever. You can always still get retagged as spam, but monitoring those text messages and how you're reaching out to people is going to be a really big factor in that. And then yeah, so if you change your ways in communication, then you should be good going forward after that. All right, I've got nobody really coming through with any questions now. So then I will bid my farewells. Thank you everybody for joining me today. I hope that you learned a lot. Can't wait to see you guys next month for a to be determined topic. It's been a pleasure. I love doing these. These are really fun. I hope that you guys find the value too. And hopefully I see you next month. Thanks, y'all.